Theresa, let's go ahead. I mean, everyone, we're going to start with the, introductions and the pledge and all that while people are still arriving. Let's go ahead and get so we can be respectful of everybody's time.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's go ahead and get started then. Good morning, everyone. It is awesome to see so many people here this morning. I think we had over 750 people register, and right now it looks like we have 359 and more coming. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I am Theresa Huffman, and I am the owner and artist at Murals and More by Theresa, but more importantly, I'm honored this year to serve as the industry partner chairperson. And I just met yesterday with a new realtor who asked me, what does that mean to be an industry partner chairperson or to be an industry partner? And so I talked with her about how we have almost 200 industry partner members who are professionals in our industry, and that we are here to help you as realtors have smooth and successful real estate transactions. So whether you are in need of a mortgage broker, a title person, a roofer, a baker, a candlestick maker, a great closing gift, we are here to serve you. And there is a directory on the DMAR website for all of our industry partners, and I encourage you to check that out whenever you are in need of some help. I encourage you to get to know the industry partners because we are all passionate about what we do, and we are eager to have the opportunity to earn your business and the business of your clients. This being February, I do want to recognize that February is Black History Month. It's an annual celebration of the achievements of African Americans and their contributions to their central role in United States history. The event grew out of Negro History Week, which was established in the 1920s by a noted historian, Carter Woodson, and other prominent African Americans. And they selected February because of it encompassed Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Frederick Douglass's birthday. And since 1976, every US president has recognized February or designated February as Black History Month. DMAR itself has publicly pledged to do its part in the fight for racial equality and is committed to supporting its Black members, colleagues, neighbors, and clients. The Community Alliance Committee works tirelessly to advocate for diversity in our communities by cultivating awareness and inclusiveness through representation, education, and outreach. More information about the diversity resources can be found on the DMAR website under the Resources and Blog tab. So before we go any further, I want to invite you to join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I know I'm on his way.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we are going to go ahead and get started by spotlighting one of our industry partners. And I would like to welcome Ian Bennett from Elevations Credit Union. And Ian, you have a few minutes to talk a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Great. Thanks, Theresa. I appreciate it. Congratulations to the 300 plus folks that are taking the time to educate yourself. So that's very much what the credit union is about. Elevations Credit Union is a local institution born and raised at the University of Colorado by 12 professors in the 1950s. And those 12 professors wanted to educate themselves as well as their community so they could prosper together. As a not-for-profit institution, that's our goal every day. And why we're here, why we're supporting DMAR is as the #1 credit union lender in the state, #9th in the country, we believe that if we can bring additional support and education to the realtor community, that we can actually add value and kind of raise all ships, so to speak. For me personally, I've been in the mortgage industry the last 15 years, started in Boulder, now work pretty consistently between Cherry Creek and Fort Collins. And everything I've learned is from the School of Hard Knocks. What I've learned in my life is if you want to go far, you need to go with a team. I learned very early on in my life that trying to go quickly by myself didn't work so well. And my personal belief is if you're going to be successful in real estate and mortgages, that you deserve to have a coach and a mentor. And that's what me and my team do for the partners we work with, or our membership, our clients. And I really believe as coming out of this pandemic or last year, the idea of collaboration, working together and being a little bit more compassionate and willing to work with others, that the realtor communities that I'm involved with have really excelled at. So I just want to share that message. I can put my contact information in the chat log as requested. And if anyone has any additional questions about the credit union, please let me know. That's all I have for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian, for being here today. And yes, please put your information in the chat room. In fact, I see a lot of industry partners here, and I do invite all of you to please say hello in the chat, provide your information, and realtors, please reach out to these industry partners and get to know us. Next, I would like to welcome our corporate sponsor from Chase Bank, Jay, and I'm going to probably mess up your name, Mananzala. Did I say it right?
Yes, you said it correctly. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Jay Mananzala, and I'm with Chase Bank, based out of Louisville. And I've been with Chase for 3 years. I've been in the lending industry for 15 years. So Chase is always trying to be innovative and be ahead of the game. A couple of years ago, we actually polled realtors all over nationwide. And we determined that, well, we found out that a lot of the times loans or escrows are not closing due to financing or sometimes property condition. So we came out with a program called the Chase Home Buyer Advantage Program. And basically the program works is to try to get buyers underwritten prior to going under contract to eliminate any kind of stress or the chances of a loan falling apart. So I'd like to highlight some of the benefits of the Home Buyer Advantage program. So the first one is allows for faster closing. Once a buyer is on a contract, all that is required is an appraisal and title documents. It also gives us the opportunity to resolve any loan concerns up front prior to going under contract. This eliminates the stress and anxiety that a lot of buyers experience when obtaining a home loan. It also gives the buyers a peace of mind that their loan is solid and won't fall apart. It could potentially give a buyer an advantage over other buyers that are submitting basic pre-qualification or pre-approval letters with their offers. Chase home lending advisors, such as myself, we always make it a priority to call listing agents or sellers agents to notify them that our clients have already been fully underwritten by an actual underwriter, and we're ready to close fast. Buyers can take advantage of the program at no cost and requires minimal effort on their part. In addition to the Home Buyer Advantage program, we also have a close on time guarantee. So basically, we guarantee that we're going to close the loan within the date on a sales contract or within 21 days. We always couple that Home Buyer Advantage conditional loan approval with the close on time guarantee. And it's been very successful for many of our buyers and referral partners. It feels great to call a listing agent and say, hey, our buyer, they're strong, their loan's going to go through, we're not going to have any issues. So it's been very successful. So I invite you, if you want to know more information, I invite you to reach out to me. I can give you the basic information. And then also, if you have any buyers that think that can benefit from this program, please feel free to reach out to me. Mahalo, thank you guys. And I appreciate you guys being part of DMAR and being part of this call. Take care.
Thank you, Jay. And thank you again to Chase for being one of our annual sponsors. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Nobu Hata, our CEO, and he is going to introduce our guest speakers today.
Well, good morning, DMAR. There's 400 plus of you guys signed in, almost 800 signed up today for our Connect. Thank you guys for making these new Streamline Connects successful. It's been a lot of fun kind of bringing this content to you guys. And frankly, I'm actually glad that the timing of this chat with two of the smartest people in real estate came to fruition. Before that, though, I really kind of want to just do some really quick homework here, if I could. It's been a kind of a crazy, litigious time in this business, as Katie and Scott will both let on. And I want to kind of remind you guys of what we need to be doing here in this virtual space. If I can remind you guys to just be professional about how we talk about what we'll be talking about today. We are being recorded. Hopefully that's okay, Katie and Scott. But more than anything, let's be sensitive to what's happening out there. This is a crazy time, but let's be sensitive to not only antitrust law and any kind of conversations that can be construed as antitrust, anti-business, and anti-free market. Don't be a jerk in the chat, please. I'm going to ask you guys for any questions that you might have of our two esteemed colleagues here. Put them in the chat, but be careful of the pylon. One of the things I used to watch when I was at NAR is this pylon of conversations. Let's stay away from that and stick to the business at hand, because we're not going to tolerate any kind of jerkiness happening in this space. Know that actually right now there's an RE Colorado meeting. Your leaders at every level are seeking out opportunities right now. This is a crazy time. You might feel like you're under attack in this business, but know that, I talked to Katie about this, Scott about this. There are just a ton of opportunity right now as realtors in this space to differentiate yourself from all this technology stuff that is happening out there. And we will actually be bringing a lot of these stories to you guys as we get into the selling season, especially with our next Connect. And frankly, if you're a broker owner out there, I've seen a couple of you guys log in that I know that to oversee agents, team leads, and things like that. NAR has got fantastic window to the law videos over on their YouTube page. There's a link on our page, but here's a direct link on YouTube, youtube.com/NAR Realtors. They're fantastic. Share them in your Tuesday meeting, share them in your content. A lot of it actually is relevant to your clients as well, along with all the new That's Who We Are campaign stuff that is coming out there. So thank you guys for abiding by this. Let me get out of this real quick. And if without further ado, I want to introduce our two esteemed colleagues here. Scott Peterson is the General Counsel for the Colorado Association of REALTORS and has been a licensed attorney and licensed realtor in Colorado for more than 20 years. He has an extensive background representing individuals and companies on a broad range of real estate matters. Scott currently serves as the General Counsel for the Colorado Association of REALTORS and proudly represents the interests of CAR. It's nearly 28,000 realtors statewide. And I will make a little plug here. He will be emceeing our Excellence Awards. Dude is funny, man. You take the lawyer hat off of him, and it's going to be awesome. Anyway, yeah, Scott.
That's the first I'm hearing of this, Nobu.
Thank you for volunteering. Katie Johnson is the General Counsel and Chief Member Experience Officer for the National Association of REALTORS, the nation's largest trade association, representing more than 1.3 million members. Actually, almost 1.4, right? Right?
That's right. That's right. It must be an old bio that you have there.
Katie joined NAR in 2007 and was appointed as General Counsel in 2014. I remember that meeting very well, Katie. Well deserved. As General Counsel, she is responsible for assuring the programs, policies, and activities of NAR in compliance with the law. She's also responsible for defending the association against legal challenges and litigation to protect and preserve association assets and policies. As NAR's Chief Member Experience Officer, she leads initiatives to enhance member engagement and satisfaction through delivery of trusted knowledge, resources, and experiences that elevate member success and professionalism. I remember that meeting as well that we came up with that. She's also my former
read
boss.
that mission statement.
It was awesome. Anyway, thank you both for being here. It's a crazy time in this business right now. Katie, if you can kind of get us up to date, I know you want to share your screen with everything that's happening here. She's got a PowerPoint deck, everybody. Kind of get us up to date what's happening out there in the litigation landscape that we're kind of in the middle of right now.
Sure. Thank you, Nobu. Thank you for inviting me. Hello, Colorado Realtors. Nobu, congratulations on this role. As you alluded to, it was both an honor and a challenge. And super fun to work with you at NAR. So we're happy to see you growing and leading in this way. So thank you for inviting me. As you said, I'm going to touch on the many lawsuits that we're dealing with as an industry together. I'm going to try to go quickly because I know there are a number of very important topics that you all want to get to today. So let's begin with the NAR DOJ settlement. As you know, in November 2020, NAR reached a settlement with the Department of Justice that resolves the DOJ's questions about the MLS system and commissions and requires NAR to make certain changes to MLS rules and the Realtor Code of Ethics as a result. As a director, the NAR board of directors will be asked to eventually approve these rule changes at an upcoming meeting in the spring. Right now, no rule changes have been final, and no changes will be final until the NAR board of directors approves them. So before I get into what each rule requires, I want to share with you these outcomes to put it in perspective. The rule changes that will eventually result from the settlement will more explicitly state what is already the spirit and intent of the NAR Code of Ethics and MLS policies. Oh my gosh. Can you still see me?
We can, you're frozen on your video. We can hear you. She might need to log back in.
Okay. Well, while Katie,
That was crazy. First time in a year that's the first time that has ever happened where it says Zoom quit unexpectedly. I wonder if it was all the dinging or something. I'm not sure. Can you see me now? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, very bizarre.
Your screen's not being shared anymore though.
Okay,
Let's find her.
let's try that again. Sorry, team.
Okay, there she is.
Is my screen being shared?
yep,
You're good.
Yes. Okay, and the proper screen is being
good.
shared. Okay, so no immediate action is required. That's an important thing to let you know, because we are still negotiating the final resolution with the Department of Justice. And I'm gonna talk about what those rules are that we are still negotiating. But I also want you to know that it's important to know that as a result of this settlement, NAR is admitting no wrongdoing, no liability. We disagree with the DOJ's characterization of our rules and the application of our policies. And importantly, we're not, requiring to be paying fines or payments. So we are looking at this in total as a positive outcome. Not only will the rule changes bolster the already existing core tenets of the MLS, being cooperation, transparency, accuracy of information, but the settlement will also allow NAR to avoid protracted and expensive litigation, thus remaining focused on our core mission of serving you all. So let's jump in. There's 4 rule changes I'm going to talk about. First, with respect to the disclosure of offers of compensation. We anticipate that this rule change will include a change to MLS policy that MLSs cannot restrict or discourage participants and subscribers from publishing or displaying the offer of compensation. We also think the rule will require MLSs to display the offer of compensation on public-facing websites maintained by the MLS and on MLS listing sheets provided to consumers. So the point of this goal is the consumer of the property information will need to be able to see and know what the offer of compensation is to the buyer's representative for the property. So we think that the rule change will also allow that this disclosure be accompanied with a disclaimer, specifically educating the consumer that this offer is an offer made only to other MLS participants in the same MLS as the listing broker, and it justifies or constitutes the amount that the listing broker is willing to compensate the cooperating broker who brings a ready, willing, and able buyer. As for members, we anticipate that the rule will just require that members ensure that their clients have that information. So as I just said, the MLSs are really going to be working on publishing in their public-facing vehicles, whether it be their websites or the email, listing detail pages that consumers get. And then the members are going to have to ensure that their clients understand the economics of the deal before making an offer, so that they'll have to make sure that their buyer clients understand what the offer what the compensation is for a particular listing before making an offer on that listing. Okay, the next rule change is a prohibition on advertising services as free. So as you know, we're envisioning that standard of practice 12.1 in the Code of Ethics will be amended to more definitively state that buyer's agents cannot represent their real estate transaction services as free to clients. And then we'll have an MLS policy statement that mirrors that language. As you know, that's already encapsulated in standard of practice 12.1, that you cannot advertise your services as free if you're being compensated for them in some way. But the DOJ is seeking that we more explicitly state that prohibition. The third rule change is regarding filtering of MLS listings. And so this rule change will actually prohibit MLS participants and subscribers from filtering listings based on two criteria. Based on the amount of compensation being offered by the listing broker, and based on the name of the broker or agent. This rule is trying to get at the point that you are serving your client. Article 1 of our Code of Ethics already requires that you act in the best interest of your clients. So you need to ensure that they are being exposed to all the properties that meet their needs and criteria, and that they cannot be filtered based on the amount of compensation that their representative will receive. Because of course, if the amount of compensation that you would receive as a result of that sale of that property is less than what you would expect or desire, that is a forced conversation that you must have with the buyer at that time. And if you're using buyer's representation agreements, yay you, good for you. Everyone should be using buyer representation agreements, because in those agreements, that arrangement is already very clearly articulated and agreed to by the buyer. The fourth anticipated rule change is that with the seller's permission, all active real estate licensees must be eligible for lockbox access. So here it's helpful to recall Article 3 of our Code of Ethics, the duty to cooperate. So as you know, this duty already requires realtors to cooperate with other brokers when it's in their client's best interests. So if you are representing a seller and you have a broker outside of your MLS or association that wants to show a buyer the home, you already have this existing duty to talk to your seller about whether that showing is in their best interest, and then to accommodate it. So this rule is going to specifically say that that duty will be accompanied with lockbox key access. And we know this causes great concern. And we've gotten tremendous feedback from members and associations and MLSs about that concern. And we hope and anticipate those concerns will be addressed in the final rule. One of the concern is safety. How will we know that they are who they say they are? Well, we anticipate the final rule will allow lockbox providers to take all the same safety precautions that they take for members. So if they are doing background checks, they should be able to do it for non-members. If they're requiring, social security number, obviously checking that they're an active licensee in the state where the property is located, whatever measures are taken to ensure safety of members should certainly be taken for non-members as well. That leads to the question of administration. This could be hugely burdensome and time consuming. Well, hopefully not, but to the extent that it is, you should also, lockbox providers should be able to charge for the access. If they charge members already an amount for a key, then they should charge that same amount to non-members. Many associations have the temporary codes or one-day showing codes, and they provide those codes to affiliate businesses like home inspectors and others. You can imagine how this might fall into the same type of administration there. And I know in many cases, there is a fee associated with getting that one-time temporary access. So the administration should certainly, any actual and reasonable costs could be assessed for having to administer this program. And then the question is about, how do we get consent of the sellers? We recommend that you talk to the seller at the point that the request is made, and that there not be some blanket effort to accept or deny such access. Because again, the duty is to act in the best interest of your sellers. And at the point a request from a non-member is made, you can have that conversation with the seller about, here's the landscape of your sale. Do you want to permit this showing or not? So those are the main overview of the rule changes. This is a new handout we created. It's available on our website called, again, to explain Article 3, duty to cooperate, because many have expressed questions around that long-standing duty. So we hope this handout will help, and we encourage you to look at it. So in sum, we just want to remind you that there's no immediate action required. The board of directors, the NAR board of directors, will have to meet after the Department of Justice agrees to final rule language. We are still negotiating final rule language, so we cannot even schedule a board of directors meeting at this time. We are keeping you and everyone updated with the latest news in this arrangement on our website. And I encourage you to check it frequently for updates. Okay, so very quickly in other news in the litigation front, in 2019, you are likely aware that NAR and 4 corporate defendants, Remax, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Realogy, and Keller Williams, were sued in Illinois and Missouri for in purported class action lawsuits. Those cases here on the screen that you see purport to represent sellers who have allegedly been damaged because of the NAR rule, MLS rule, requiring offers of compensation to be made via the MLS. The cooperative broker system, where you agree to compensate and cooperate with other brokers, is being challenged in these lawsuits. They specifically argue that the rule itself has led to artificially fixed and inflated commission prices, because the seller is being required to compensate the buyer's representative. They allege that if the buyer should be paying directly out of pocket. They allege that if the buyer were paying directly out of pocket then to their agent, then they would negotiate a lower commission, because they allege that buyers' representatives don't do anything anymore. Home buyers find their properties online, and therefore the role of a buyer's representative is diminished, if not negligent. Totally crazy allegations in these lawsuits, misunderstanding of the system, mischaracterization of how commissions work, how NAR's ethical rules actually permit, encourage negotiation of commissions. They also try to compare our MLS system to other countries that don't have an MLS system, and they allege that in those other countries, the commissions are lower, and therefore our system must be bad. So these cases are wrong on the facts, wrong on the economics, and wrong on the law. And we are in it to defend and prevail ultimately on all of these allegations that they're putting forth. In more recent news, as in the end of January, we were sued again. This time it's a variation on the theme. So this case is called Leader, same defendants in Illinois, but the class of plaintiffs is different. This class action purports to represent buyers who have purchased property throughout the country using an MLS, and they allege that they are aggrieved because of our rules, because the commission that the seller is paying the buyer's broker resulted in higher home prices, because the seller the commission ends up in the home price. So the arguments and the justifications are at odds. And so we will also be defending this matter strongly. And in this matter, we will be filing a motion to dismiss at some point in the next couple months. In the other matters, we filed motions to dismiss, they were denied. So now we are in the discovery phase where we're sharing information in order to prove our case. So what can you do to help? Well, you can do a lot. And actually your industry partner, Ian, I think Ian Bennett, I loved what he said about your, this collaboration, this resilience, this connection that he's observed in the realtor family this past year. But also in the chat, he said something like he believes an educated buyer outperforms uneducated buyers. And I couldn't agree more. And that's what you can do to help us prevail in the litigation and in the court of public opinion, is to educate your clients about your value, about how the MLS works, why it works in the best interest of the buyers and the sellers, educate them about how you are compensated, and about their rights and expectations around your service and your compensation in the transaction. So again, using a buyer's representation agreement is a phenomenally easy and productive way to have these conversations. So I encourage everybody to start doing that, as well as to really start promoting your value, your relevance, your, setting the expectations for service, that and explaining why the MLS is so helpful and productive for home buyers and sellers. Okay, very last set of lawsuits to talk about our clear cooperation policy. As you know, that policy went into effect, final implementation date May 1st of this year. Very soon after that policy was implemented, NAR was sued in 2 different lawsuits. The Top Agent Network, a private listing network, sued us, as well as the PLS.com, which is a private listing service in California. In both of these cases, they allege that the clear cooperation policy is anti-competitive because it hurts their business model being a pocket listing service and a private listing service. And therefore, any rule that would require members to share their listings in the cooperative to which they belong is anti-competitive. But the good thing here is that it's not, in that the antitrust laws do not exist to protect business models. They exist to protect competition for the benefit of consumers. And the courts in both cases have come to that conclusion. In Top Agent Network in December, the court granted our motion to dismiss, finding that the policy was pro-competitive, pro-consumer, and that the plaintiffs have failed to allege any kind of antitrust harm. That court did give the plaintiffs the opportunity to amend their complaint and try again. So they did that, and we've just recently filed a motion to dismiss in that case. And then finally, in the PLS case, very recently, the court granted our motion to dismiss for all the same reasons, with prejudice, meaning that the PLS plaintiffs have no opportunity to amend their complaint. So the clear cooperation policy remains in full force and effect, and hoping that litigation will wrap soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Really good wrap up. And frankly, folks, if you ever wondered about the value of your dues investment into your association, for every one of these cases that Katie and Scott talk about, there's dozens that never make it because they have spent so much time smacking them down in the court of law. So, props to both of you guys, and Katie, your staff, for doing so much work for us. So thank you. So let's kind of dive into the other kind of 800-pound gorilla, and Scott, you can jump in on this as well. This Zillow acquiring Showing Time, which I know has been a hot topic here. Let's keep in mind, everyone, that Zillow is a realtor member almost across the country now. They are brokers now. So let's kind of get that off the schneid. Thoughts on that, Katie, Scott? I know that NAR is going to launched their centric key showing platform earlier than expected. What else can we expect going forward?
Well, I can give a couple of thoughts quickly, but before I do that, I just want to welcome, as Katie did, we get a welcome Nobu to our state. So we're very, I know he's been around for a few months, but if you guys as members haven't had a chance to meet and engage with Nobu and DMAR's phenomenal staff, then I'd encourage you to do that once we get through this pandemic stuff, because he's a really special individual, and we're very lucky as an industry to have him, and you guys particularly, as your CEO. And then Katie, just to acknowledge, I think about her often because I have essentially, as a state general counsel, one ball in the air at any given time, and that's thinking about the state. Katie's got 50, and I can't manage to keep my one ball in the air consistently. Katie managed to juggle, somehow 50 balls and keep them all in the air very gracefully. So kudos to her and everything she's doing. To get back to the question here, I think the issue has become, particularly over the last week and a half since the announcement of this acquisition was made, that there's been a lot of social media sort of agitation, a lot of realtor agitation, a lot of cynicism maybe about the proposed transaction. And my concerns, and I think I know Katie will echo them, is that if you go back to Katie's update and the issues that she addressed, whether it's the DOJ settlement or the civil lawsuits that have been filed, the class action lawsuits that have been filed, both of the theories or those are sort of based in concepts of antitrust. And I know we talk a lot about commissions and how there's no minimum commissions and colluding and conspiring as an industry to sort of set minimum commissions, which is what some of the lawsuits are alleging, I think very inaccurately. The concepts of group boycotts is another theory that comes out of antitrust and applies in some ways to the concerns that I've seen, particularly related to use of social media. And with this announcement and you guys as realtors, going out and making social media posts, Facebook posts, I think is probably the best example. And then invariably, you guys are all, have lots of friends, a very well-developed social network. Many of them are other market participants, but unrelated market participants, other brokers, colleagues, competitors, but not necessarily in your same office. And then what I see is, some negative comment or dismissive comment about the prospects of that acquisition. And then a chat lines just sort of fill up with what eventually gets around to things that easily could be perceived as sort of group boycott kind of rhetoric related to things. And that in and of itself has a whole separate set of antitrust implications. And so I think, and I'm sure Katie can chime on the process from a federal regulatory standpoint. In this case, this proposed acquisition is going to be reviewed by the FTC, DOJ. I mean, they're going to look into this and the concerns, and there could well be some pretty strict parameters if and when there's any approval with regard to how any of these services are utilized. And I think the federal regulatory scrutiny is looking and would be typically concerned about some of the same things that you guys as market participants would be concerned about. And that process is going to sort of flush itself out. And so I guess if anything, I would say in your use of social media, and you're free to have your opinions, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. It's just what invariably happens in the context of a social media post. It quickly devolves into things that create separate implications, I think, for our industry. And as we know, just based on Katie's update, there is a very significant microscope on our industry as it relates to some of these issues right now. So really being cautious to avoid that, I think, is super important in the new era that we're all living in with both the antitrust scrutiny as well as the use of social media. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And thank you, Scott, for your comments. And we do what we do because we have such great partners. I mean, just like realtors collaborating, the associations collaborate and have, especially this past year, collaborated so tremendously productively. So I appreciate you and all that we've done together this year too. But so with regards to this issue, I have several thoughts. One is to, like 50 balls in the air, You members, realtors, you've got 50 balls in the air. Keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye on the big picture. And that is and should always be the consumer experience. That is, what are you doing to address and respond to the consumer's changing expectations and demands? A lot is happening. The Zillow acquisition of Showing Time is one ball. NAR, Century Locks announcement of Century Key showing system, or Century Key's showing system is 2 balls. CoStar's entry into residential real estate is 3 balls. CoStar's announcement that HomeSnap is going to also offer a showing system is 4 balls. There are so many things. Don't restrict yourself to worrying too much about one, but looking at the big picture, which is the consumer experience and what you're doing to the consumer. I'll just add that I recently spoke to the Missouri Association of REALTORS, and they surveyed their members before the event and said, what is the number one issue that is going to impact your business this year? What is the number one thing that will impact your business in 2021? And you can imagine the responses. They were like inventory, they were, lack of inventory, pandemic, regulations, politics, business models, Zillow, all these responses. And one person responded, me. And I thought, wow, that realtor gets it. Like, they are the one greatest thing that will impact their business and their success in 2021. And I believe that's true for everyone. And I believe that that's really the charge of the local, state, and national associations, is to help you realize that you are your biggest asset to your success and to enable you to do that. So when you ask, online, on social media or elsewhere, what are you doing, NAR? Well, we are trying to help you. We are trying to help you succeed. And because we're keeping the eye on the bigger picture too. So it's a little bit of a digression. If we're going back into the legal world, of course you want to not be a jerk, as Nobu said, adhere to, avoid antitrust conversations, which mean, boycotting conversations, as Scott said, and really just, I think, just remember that you're ultimately trying to attract business. And so your online persona is a reflection of who you are and whether or not consumers will want to work with you.
Well, let's jump into that real quick, because and frankly, I've seen some questions here. We'll get to them. Let's talk about what we can talk about, right? I hate being dredged up, like, don't do this, don't do that. Let's talk about the consumer experience. Consumers want to know about these things now, right? They want to know about the commission. It's okay to talk about what the commission is, correct? People want to know how much they are paying, not how much you're making. They don't care about that. Thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. So just to be clear, members have done great at not talking to each other about, how much they charge their clients at the listing level. They understand there's case law saying that, brokers have to make their own independent decision about how much they're charging for services in order to avoid price fixing allegations, right? So we don't do that. You want to continue to not do that. Listing brokers, don't tell other listing brokers what your pricing scheme is, because that's an independent business decision for you and your clients. The offer of compensation has always been public via the MLS, meaning available to the competitors who have the opportunity to know and fix what they receive. So sharing it with the consumers who are impacted as part of the financial transaction of buying a home does not at all increase or create antitrust risk, because the competitors who actually have the ability to set prices, they already know what it is, because that is the unique and brilliantly helpful system of the multiple listing service. So sharing it, making sure that the consumers who are actually impacted by that financial arrangement are aware of what the amount is, does not create additional risk, and should be something that, again, you're talking about with your buyer clients, hopefully in a buyer representation agreement.
Yeah, Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would just add to that, and I get a lot of inquiries from brokers about, oh, there's brokerage firms are different business models for every brokerage firm. And some brokerage firms have business models that are very commission forward. In other words, they advertise their commissions on billboards and any websites and any place else, and they sort of lead with the commission discussion. And people say, well, they're not supposed to be talking about that or whatever. Brokers are free to advertise their own brokerage commissions. Brokers are free to, I compare it often to like a gas station. If multiple gas station owners were to get together and set their prices together, then that would be a problem. But for a gas station owner independently to put their prices on their own billboard in front, that's perfectly fine. Now, similarly, does Walmart shop Target, shop Amazon? And actually, they both probably shop Amazon in terms of what the prices are, but that's not a collective effort to do anything. So within your brokerage firm, you can certainly set your brokerage firm commissions. You're entitled to do that. That's not antitrust in the least. It's only when unrelated market participants get together to do that. But advertising your own brokerage firm's commissions and being a commission forward sort of business model is perfectly fine, as well as your brokerage firm internally, having your own commission structure because you're related participants, not unrelated participants.
Here's the thing, what I've noticed in this last year in COVID is that people are willing to pay a premium price for premium services. Real estate is a premium service. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about your value, because the last year has shown us folks are willing to pay it. They just want to know about it. And that type of education, as Ian mentioned, kind of coming back full circle is key to growth going forward. And I'll tell you, our next speakers at next month's Connect, all they do is talk about that. They demystify the experience for buyers and sellers because everyone is doing it for the first time. No one buys and sells real estate every day like we buy groceries, because if so, things would be changing. But you're hearing it from directly from these folks, guys. Don't be afraid to talk about this stuff. So let's kind of get into some of these questions here, because we got a bunch of them here. So Camille got her question answered there. Commissions in general. There's been somebody asked whether or not there's going to be an impact. They're still negotiable, right? At this point, everything is negotiable in the contract, correct?
Absolutely, always and forever.
Always have been.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. All right.
And let me add to that. I love that Katie was harping on a couple of things. One is getting your exclusive right agreements executed, right? I hear far too often from brokers who call the legal hotline and they say, my buyer's out cheating on me, right? They wrote an offer with somebody else. And those agreements are to protect the consumer, but they're also to protect you and ensure your payment. And so if you're getting that, then, you're ahead of the game in terms of all of this commission discussion because you've already had it with your buyer. And then the second thing that she mentioned that I think is super important and I harp on all the time is articulating your value proposition. As this technology world gets flatter and flatter that we all live in, the better you guys are at articulating your value proposition, because every one of you have one. You wouldn't be sitting here on a Friday morning listening to us talk about this if you didn't have a value proposition. But the better you are at articulating that going forward, the more any of these commission discussions are going to become a lot easier for you going forward.
Okay, one day I would love to actually be able to have some of these guys pitch their value to folks like you. I think that's a whole other conversation someday. I think it'd be kind of cool. Going back really quickly to the showing time thing, regardless of who is buying showing time, and this has come up a couple of times already, and this was in your kind of list of questions. I got it repeatedly over the last couple days. Is there a conflict of interest for a broker or any entity who's a entity or a subscriber to the MLS buying an MLS service? That's a first for me. What are your thoughts on that?
There's no inherently obvious legal reason that can't happen. I suspect that there are service providers or technology providers and MLSs throughout the country that are also brokers, but not on this massive scale, of course. So again, it's just your independent business decision as to whether or not to use the services that your competitors are providing. I do want to address a couple there. I see a couple questions about commission. So I just want to reiterate some of the things that Scott said, because I think they answer a lot of these questions I'm seeing. it is okay to advertise your listing. If you're a broker, it is okay to advertise your listing fee if that is part of your model. Obviously, that advertisement must be accurate and not have any misstatements or not be misleading, because that's an ethical obligation as well. It will never be required to publish that, because again of what the comments I said about you're a collective, you're sharing that information with competitors. If you choose to advertise to consumers what your listing is, that's fine. The MLS itself will not require that and cannot require that you listing brokers also publish what you've negotiated with your clients, again for fear of price fixing on that side of the transaction. And then another question I received was, is it okay for the broker to set their fees, for buyer representation? Absolutely. As Scott said, it is okay for the broker to make their own independent decision about, hey, I'm a buyer representative, and all of you in affiliated independent contractors, I expect you to get this, to charge this for your services. So that is okay. The point is that you have to make sure your clients know that too. You can't just avoid homes that don't match that price. You cannot do that, to be clear. Those clients need to know all the homes that are available to fit their needs. You need to have the conversation with the client that says, this is how much you get paid for all these great services I'm going to provide to you. And if the home that you pick is not going to be offering me that much, then you're going to be on the hook for the remainder.
Scott, anything out of that?
No, I fully agree with every point she made there.
There's another question about, will realtors have to disclose commission in the as well as the co-op and the MLS to the public as well? I'm assuming that is in their marketing. That's a no, at least right now, right? Correct, with the Department of Justice's negotiation.
I think what the and I don't mean to, I mean, in terms of the settlement, I think what Katie had explained will come out of that, and what's been announced so far as one of the key tenets of that is going to be that from a practical standpoint, the cooperating commission being offered through the MLS can no longer be a private data field within the MLS. In other words, so when you hit syndicate on your listing as a listing agent, and it goes out to any public portal that would be available to consumers, then the cooperating commission will need to be syndicated as a public data field that would be available. And that traditionally has not been the case. There's some areas of the country where the MLSs have made elective decisions to syndicate that. And that's been going on for, I think, over a year. And I think pretty smoothly overall. And again, more, sort of support for the fact that the MLS really is a pro-consumer concept. And so that's the commission. The listing side commission, what you're being paid on your based on your exclusive right to sell listing agreement is always going to be private between you and the seller. Did I do that okay, Katie?
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
There's been a couple of data questions here in the chat and privately. There has been, as much as people like to talk about this acquisition, there's been 4 other acquisitions of companies by brokers and other entities in the real estate space in the last week. Okay, a major one announced today. I've been hit up personally by everyone and their mother now who can create a showing opportunity solution, right? Whatever. In this crazy time, we are going to be in the midst of all this now. What are the questions we should be asking technology providers who are all of a sudden coming in going, hey, I can help, but these are the same guys that are going to turn around and want to sell their companies one day. The first question I'm asking these guys is, what are y'all doing with that data? Which has been a topic of conversation in the chat here. Do you have any other perspectives, tips, and tricks for potential service providers who are coming out of the woodwork in droves? Katie?
Well, I mean, I look at this whole issue similarly again at the macro and how members, what's the number one thing that you need to be successful with a client, with your consumers? I think you need their trust. You're supposedly their trusted advisors. So how are you building and maintaining trust? I would look at every relationship you have with vendors with associations, with other people in the same manner. Who do you trust? Why do you trust them? What is their track record? I'd evaluate the whole decision making on trust. And I see that there's some questions about, a concern about Zillow and the data with the showing. Well, how did you evaluate that when Zillow acquired Dotloop? Did that impact your data sharing capabilities when they acquired Bridge Interactive? Does that, was that trust evaluation happening? I'd say, do the same exercise here. Not sure that's super helpful, but Scott, would you say something helpful?
Well, no, I mean, I agree. It's tough because you've got to evaluate everything. The problem is this, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody. In this modern world, you get, every time we turn around, some dirty lawyer has drafted up some terms of service box where you scroll through, pages of it, and all you do is check at the bottom, acknowledging that you accept the terms and service, and you don't read a word of it. And the devil's in the details in so many of those cases. Now, I don't know how, I mean, as a practical matter, I don't think we're gonna shift what we're doing as a, just from a practical perspective. Most people aren't gonna adopt this practice of, fastidiously reviewing their terms of service before they go and accept them. But I do think this discussion, and thank goodness, has become really pushed to the forefront of our culture now with regard to the use of data and big data and the handful of tech companies that seem to have their fingers in just about everything. And the good news as a result of that is I think we're seeing a lot of sort of alternative business models that aren't basically in the business of peddling your information and your data. And so being mindful of what's going to happen with that, whether it's related to your real estate businesses, which I know, is a primary pressing concern for the purposes of the merger and acquisitions that we've been talking about here, but everything else you're doing in your life, my goodness, it's really actually very frightening to think about where all of our information is going. So yeah, read the terms.
If it's free, you are the product, guys. And then we're going to be dealing with that for the rest of our lives. Our kids are going to be growing up with it without a problem, which I think is something we need to think about. So are we required to use a showing service? You can use whatever you'd like as far as showings go. So that's really not much of an issue there. See what we got going here. Katie, clarify the result of the DOJ settlement. Will out-of-state brokers be able to participate in MLS without being a member of that MLS in another state?
The DOJ settlement does not address that point. So the answer to that is that yes, realtor members, there's two policies that pertain to that question that have been in long existence at NAR, Board of Choice and MLS of Choice. And via those policies, a realtor member in one association can receive services of another association anywhere else. I mean, pay for them, of course, but they do not have to belong as a member as long as you're a member somewhere in the United States. And in MLS of Choice says that you can, a broker can participate, and other agents in that brokerage firm who don't want to participate, they can opt out of the service. So through those mechanisms, realtors can participate, can join MLSs in other areas where they're not a realtor member. But to be clear, license law requires you be licensed in the place that you're buying and selling property. Being a member means that you have to be actively endeavoring to buy and sell property or represent people for buying and selling property. So there are, qualifications to your access. The DOJ settlement only deals with the key that opens the lockbox. And I say like this, but it's not mechanical, it's a lockbox these days. So it's an app, it's a number. That's the only thing the DOJ settlement, it does not impact the cooperation and agreements within that apply only to MLS participants.
Let's talk real quickly about, because we're kind of getting up on the hour here. And frankly, I'm actually cutting and pasting these questions so that maybe we can get these answered for you guys after the fact, if Scott and Katie are gracious enough with their time. But let's talk about the fact that this is sponsored by industry partners. Katie, you and I have long talked about like the value of bringing in folks who are specialists in their field as not only kind of a good thing for the consumer, but also something that can cover your butt when it comes to legal ramifications. What's the value of being surrounded by people who are experts in their fields as part of your business?
I mean, I think it's apparent that you're a trusted advisor, right? So you got to have the answers. You got to know the people, your consumers. Again, I would just look at the consumer experience. What does the consumer want? They want you to advise them, make recommendations. Knowing a lot of people in your sphere who are capable of that is going to benefit you ultimately with your clients.
Yeah, Scott, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from a risk management standpoint, and I say this all the time to realtors. You know, so many realtors want to be everything to everybody, right? And not rely or force your clients to rely on the experts that you've surrounded yourself with. And from a in the real world situation, that creates liability for you as a broker if you're moving outside of your brokerage services, your sort of the box that you've been engaged to participate in, and there's a good chance you're not going to do it well. There's a good chance you're going to screw something up, and there's a good chance that that's going to create liability for you. So yeah, leveraging your industry partners, the experts around you, and building a team, so to speak. And I don't mean that in a brokerage team sense. I mean it in a affiliate partnership sense is incredibly important.
Okay, cool. We actually have a little more time here. There are apparently more Super Bowl rings that Tom Brady has got in his possession than listings period out there to talk about after this. So we can go a little longer. Let's talk about something local real quick, Scott, if you could. We've been getting a lot of questions on vaccines and COVID. I know essential has changed in definition since the vaccine was rolled out. What can you share?
Well, okay, so I've had the same question, and we've talked about it internally from a government affairs standpoint or government affairs team at CAR. And concept of in the state of Colorado, we worked very hard to get realtors designated or licensees designated statewide as essential field services, which enabled us to perform brokerage functions and for you guys to carry on your business at the height of the pandemic. And so since the vaccine has been sort of rolled out and they're trying to determine how that's distributed, I've had a lot of questions and calls about, hey, can we just go in with our essential designation and get our vaccine? And my answer is generally no. I've not heard of any county health department, state health department, hospital that's willing to accept your designation as essential from a real estate perspective, is sort of helping you jump the line. If I had my choice, if I had 28,000 vaccines in my pocket, I'd give them to you guys as realtors because you're all certainly essential to me. But I think from a government affairs standpoint, we've made a decision at CAR that I don't like the optics of us, going and trying to advocate that, our members, ought to be in a sort of priority position as it relates to, others that are either in high risk categories or high exposure categories, such as, first responders and healthcare professionals and teachers and things like that. I think that's a tough optics situation from an advocacy standpoint. So my answer would be no. If you're fortunate and can get somebody to give you the vaccine on that basis, then, good on you, but nothing formal on this end.
All right, 10.5, Katie, from your point of view, that was kind of one of the big changes that happened. Code of Ethics 10.5. There's been a lot of like, oh, we can't talk about this and that, overreach. It's really not that true. If you're kind of being kind of a jerk on social media, it's going to come out. Thoughts on 10.5 now that we can look back on it for about 4 or 5 months?
Well, sure, but I'll also just offer, how much time do we have here? Because 10.5, could garner a healthy conversation for quite a long time. So my main point here is, please visit our website. When I talk to associations, I actually challenge them. Watch one of our monthly training sessions on 10.5 before speaking to it. And I really say that because there's a lot of misconception. There's a lot of media who are misreporting what it is, what it entails, and how it applies to our members. If you watch one of our many monthly training sessions about 10.5, you'll understand, what was passed. They discuss examples, how it's applied. Then they obviously also dig into how do you address a potential complaint and what are potential sanctions. So these are excellent videos. Nobu, I'm going to send you my slide deck. I know some people want it. The slide deck has links and stuff to those videos as well. So just in general, the easiest way to avoid a potential violation is to not express hateful statements towards somebody based on their protected class. And I think that is way easier said. I mean, I think that is easy to accomplish, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, Scott, I know it was a hot topic for you for a while, died down a little bit as folks kind of get real information.
You know, it just depends. I mean, the thing is, as Katie alluded to, there's been a lot of sort of, I don't know, hysteria articles or sort of inflammatory articles that take it further than what I know the intention or scope of the modifications that were made actually apply to. And so that doesn't help the issue. I mean, I come back to this one thing, and I don't know how many pages is the membership marks manual, Katie? Is it 20 some pages? It's a book. It's a big, thick.
It's like 500 pages maybe.
Well, the marks manual, is it that long?
Oh, the arbitration. I thought you were talking about the arbitration.
No, the marks manual.
Oh yeah.
It's 20 some. It's
Yeah.
a big book.
Yeah.
And one thing that the Realtor brand that everybody wears on their lapels, and you can see behind Katie there, is an incredibly valuable brand. That's one of the reasons that we're members, is because the consumers identify with us as realtors. And when the thing about the news media, when it comes to certain activities, speech, actions, things like that, if Joe Shopkeeper does something wrong and gets in trouble for it, it's not Shopkeeper does something wrong, it's Joe does something wrong. If Joe Realtor does something wrong and it becomes a media story, then it's Realtor does something wrong. And the impact on our brand, on your reputations as an industry, our reputation as an industry, is pretty substantial. And so I know this has become a bit of a political issue, but I don't care what perspective you have from a political standpoint. The importance of protecting the Realtor brand and the Realtor marks has been a massive priority, as it should be by NAR, because it's one of the most recognized brands in the world. And once one Realtor does something, everybody gets lumped in. So I guess I try and remind people that are agitated by this that A, it doesn't go nearly as far as some people seem to perceive it is going, and B, there's a real legitimate business reason as well. And in addition to all of the, social responsibility reasons and everything else, but there's a legitimate business reason as well.
Yeah. And if I could I've seen some of the things that have been circulated. We all need to kind of realize that there's a lot of junk online written by bloggers who make money off of clicks and advertising. Guys, we cannot be suckers to these kind of fake media plays. Don't be afraid to reach out to Scott, Katie's team. Go to nar.realtor. We've got some assets on our websites as well that talks about this. That's fully the truth, folks. Do not get suckered in by what you're seeing online. 90% of what's online is kind of garbage. Katie, weekly we would meet and talk about these things. There were maybe 1 in 20 stories that had any semblance of truth written by actual journalists, right? You remember those days?
Yeah, and this gets back to the drum beat that I use so often is trust. What are you trusting online? Why are you reading and trusting? Who's in your echo chamber? Who do you trust? Yeah. Please, evaluate that.
In our last couple minutes here, and again, we're going to get these questions that you guys have, plus some of the other ones that we never got to ask back to you guys. But maybe from both of you guys in the last minute or so, what are some emerging issues we should be looking out for as agents, team leads, brokers, anything that you've discussed today that we've missed today that we should be wary of? This is a decade that I think is going to be watershed moments for this industry. There's so much change happening right now. What do you think we should be aware of?
Oh, I think there's tons. So yeah, I'll come back and visit with you guys whenever you want. But I think the biggest opportunity immediately right in front of us is fair housing. Embrace it, improve your own policies and systems, see how you can, help the lending situation. I mean, fair housing in every aspect of the housing transaction is going to be tested and evaluated by everyone now and in years to come. So owning that, embracing it, and being a change leader in fair housing, I think is an exciting opportunity for all of our members today. We have a lot of information to help you do that on nar.realtor. From implicit bias training videos to Fair Haven, the simulated experience of how consumers receive housing discrimination, to many, many other programs and information. We want to help you succeed there.
Awesome. Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly would agree with Katie on her point. I think in Colorado, for those of you who have taken the 4-hour mandatory update course already this year, one of the things that they point out is that advertising is consistently a top violation. And it's consistent only in the last couple of years because of like social media use and electronic advertising, all the things that you guys can potentially get in trouble for, both under code of ethics, potentially under state license law. And the reason is, you know, even as recently as 10 or 15 years ago, your advertising was maybe a bus bench billboard and maybe an open home section of the Sunday newspaper. It wasn't electronic, and maybe you were hanging flyers from your for sale signs. Now everything is electronic online, which means that it's very, very easy to identify for the purposes of intellectual property misuse, if you're using images and other materials and things like that, for the purposes of misadvertising or misrepresentations made in advertising. And then in social media for the purposes of really damaging or potentially damaging your reputations. I tell realtors all the time, you guys aren't given a lot in terms of what you do. Nobody's paying you a big fat salary. You know, nobody's providing, you know, a whole lot of benefits to you. There's 40,000-ish licensees in the state of Colorado. There's a lot of alternatives when you go and screw up your reputation by doing something online or electronically. It's just, you know, 3 or 4 words and a click post can be enough to really damage what you guys spend your time building. So I think in terms of both actual regulatory kind of liability, civil liability with maybe intellectual property violations, and then reputational liability, which may be the most harmful of all. I think those are the kind of the areas all related generally to advertising that brokers need to be looking out for. All of the convenience that comes with the use of social media and websites and all of the stuff you're able to do electronically, all of that convenience does come at an increased scrutiny, increased exposure to some of those things. So I would be mindful in that regard.
That's really good. Actually, lays in really well to what we'll be talking about next week. You're going to be judged now by what is out there online first before consumers even reach out to you, which is just the way the nature of the beast right now when it comes to real estate. We'll actually have a lot of tips and tricks about that for free and paid next month. March 19th is our next Connect powered by the South District folks. And it's going to be all talk about free and paid for lead generation and marketing tips by not only some local folks, but some out-of-state folks as well, including Shay. Shay says hi, Katie, who will be talking about this stuff as well. So please join us for our March Connect next month. Excellence Awards. If you were to go today and log in and sign up, use the promo code February Connect, capital F, capital C, and you get a discount on your Excellence Award tickets. I'm signing up just to hear Scott, frankly.
Me too.
Katie, Scott, thank you guys so much for your time. Katie, I know you're busy. Scott, equally as busy. You guys have been great. Thank you for everything that you do, folks. And with that, I'll punt it back to Theresa and Julie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. That was wonderful information for our Realtor partners. We are moving now into the marketing session of the meeting. And before we do that, Julie has a note about that. So Julie.
Hello, sorry, I had to unmute myself. Remember at the marketing, we do have a few listings, but please, when you fill out the spreadsheet, we are only able to market those that are in the MLS, active MLS listings. So if you filled out that form and you did not put your MLS number on there and an address, we won't be able to, you won't be able to present your property today. So keep that in mind when you fill that out. Please make sure you fill it out completely so that you can present at these marketing meetings. And I am going to bring up Jennifer so she can share her screen. Hang on. Oh,
I think I'm sharing if everyone can see Matrix.
yes, awesome. Thank you.
So it looks like the first broker up is William Press with his property on Cedric Drive.
Hi there. This is the first time I've done this, so I appreciate you popping this thing up. This is a home in Windsor, a custom built home back in the mid 2000s. And it's totally upgraded, including bamboo flooring, brand new upgraded carpet upstairs. Master bedroom is down on the first level with its own full 5-piece bath. It's in a neighborhood, the home is in a neighborhood, Water Valley South, where there's lakes and beaches and docks that if this property does not come with a dock, but you are allowed to bring your own a paddle boat or whatever into the water. And especially with COVID, it's great for kids, the beaches that are all around. The home is 3,500 square feet above and about 1,700 square feet basement unfinished with a rough. So you can make that basement everything that you need it for it to be. It's just a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood, very well kept, some smart, it's a smart home in many ways. I can't say enough about how well the owners have taken care of it and upgraded it to make it just a real show home and a real beauty.
Great, thank you so much. All right, next up is Edward Vaughan on Colorado Court.
Hi, everybody. I'll wait for the pictures to come up here, but this is a bi-level in Centennial. It was built in 1972. As you can get a feel there, there's a lot of parking available outside the front of the home, including an RV space there. Right now you're looking at the upper main level of the home. You can see it's got some nice hardwood flooring throughout that main level. It's also got 2 bedrooms up along with a full bath and a 3/4 bath up. The full bath is in the, or the 3/4 in the master suite there. You're looking at the primary master bedroom there along with the 3/4 ensuite bathroom there. That's a secondary bedroom upstairs. And there's the full bath in the hallway upstairs. As you go downstairs, you'll see the family room with the stone fireplace across the whole family room. One thing to note here is all the furnishings in this home would come with a full price, a full contract on this home. There's a 3/4 bath down, covered deck in the back. And what I was going to say about this home, the main selling point of this home is the backyard oasis. It's a really nice setting back there with lots of mature trees for shade in the summertime, and finished off with a hot tub. Pretty much a brand new hot tub back there. It was bought about 4 months ago. I guess that's it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. All right, Heather Rich on Garfield Avenue.
Is Heather with us this morning? I'm going to guess that she's not. So just a reminder that if in order to present your property, you do have to be present at the meeting. So we do have just a few minutes left. If there are any buyer needs that you'd like to present, I guess just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up if you have a buyer need. Anyone?
I have buyers looking. They're really flexible neighborhood wise. I've written 11 offers so far, and so and I'm waiting to hear back on one today. So maybe this won't even matter by tomorrow, but they're looking under 475, really flexible on the house of, style of house and what they need, just at least 3 bedrooms. But anywhere from North Glen to West Aurora, so not too far deep in Aurora. But they're great people, first time buyers. I wish they had more cash to play with, but they're fully qualified, for what they've got, conventional loan. So let me know if you have anything coming on soon. I'd love to work with you guys.
And do you want to give us your name and phone number in case anyone does have something in mind for you?
Yes, I will put it in the chat box for everybody.
Awesome. Is there anyone else that has a buyer need that they'd like to share?
Yes, I do.
Speak up.
I have first-time home buyers looking for 3 bedroom plus, 2 bath plus in Parker, Englewood, Centennial, Littleton, Highlands Ranch, or Castle Rock. We have been putting bids on and just losing them. They need to be in a house closed by the end of March.
Okay, again, share your contact information in the chat so that if anyone has something, they can contact you. Anyone else that has a, okay, go for it.
I'm sorry, no, this is it. I just showed one in Centennial.
Oh,
Right
you
on this
showed one.
presentation.
Okay.
So schedule showing.
Which one did you show?
It was that second one in Centennial. It's 7261 South Colorado Court.
Is
Sorry.
there anyone
Sorry
else
for
with the
interrupting.
buyer's need?
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Allison Nuanis. I have a really similar need to the previous speaker, but I'm not sure what her price range was. So it was mine is 3+ bedroom, up to 400,000 in that southern range, and they would go as far east as Elizabeth and down to Castle Rock, and again, and like as far west as anywhere up, you know, around Chatfield Reservoir, you know, all around there. So they would go really far, just not very far north, as they're trying to stay close to family who are in Sterling Ranch. They want a basement or at least a space for kids to play outside of the bedrooms and the one living room. So they want just some other space. And their kids are currently at Roxborough Elementary, so they're far west, but they would go as far, like I said, east as Elizabeth, and it's a really tough price range. So if anybody has anything in that lower price range for a family with kiddos down south, it's Allison Nuanis, and I'll put my info as well in the chat.
Great, thank you. We have about 1 more minute. Is there anyone else that has a buyer need?
Hey, yeah, Kim, this is Chuck Berry. I have several, but 2 very specific. I am looking for a property in the Meadows up to 750-ish. We need a main floor master, preferable, but as long as we had straight stairs going up, older gal that's going to be in there, so we could put a chairlift thing on there, but prefer a main floor master. Needs to have a private yard, preferred back to open space in the Meadows, specifically in Castle Rock. The other one I am looking for is out of state buyers coming in, would like something an acre or more, limited to 550 or under, open in Metro Denver. So if anybody's got anything, we're good to go.
Okay,
and this is Ann Hicks calling. I have someone looking in Denver near Grayland Country Day School. They're moving from California. They want to put their children into the school. Ideally 4+ baths, 4+ bedrooms, 3+ baths, up to $1 million. They can rework it. Ideally, if it didn't have to be reworked, that'd be great. But if they, sometimes in those neighborhoods, you have older houses and they can work through it, that's not their preference. But if you have anything in either of those categories, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, awesome. Well, we are out of time. I want to thank you all again for joining us this morning. The industry partners powered this meeting, and we're really happy to have been able to share this with you. Don't forget to register for next month's meeting in advance. And I just want to send you out with a closing quote from Booker T. Washington, and that is that success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life, as by the obstacles by which he has overcome trying to succeed. So again, thank you all so much. Have a fabulous weekend, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.